welcome to the show. Hope you guys are having a great day. I tell you what's, it's amazing the weather changes. I think a lot of us are waiting to see, hey, is it going to be a cold or a warm day? And today's turned out to be kind of in the middle of the road there. But don't forget tonight, if you're in the South, be careful. There's a lot of tornadoes and thunderstorms, etc. warnings. But I was at my men's group today, and I mentioned this. I did an early morning cast, and I thought what was interesting is the app. It's called My Radar. My Radar, and it's a free app. And if you go and look at the app, it shows all this upcoming weather. But then, if you correlate it with the upcoming eclipse, it's all the storm path is following the pattern of the eclipse. I know there's a lot of crazy thoughts out there about that, but I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. Well, big news. We've got a lot of problems going on over in the Middle East. Iran promises revenge on the news. I'll play that for you in this CBS, the 700 Club. The other thing is Robert Kennedy was on CNN and asked something to the effect of Trump being a danger, and he went on to say no, he thinks Biden is a bigger danger than Trump for the country and democracy. Interesting. And then we're also got some border updates and some border information for you. I mentioned earlier in the early morning show that the LSU women refused to come on court for the national anthem. That's upset a lot of people. And we'll talk about that. But Iowa was on the court for the national anthem. Caitlin Clark had a monster game, and Iowa beat LSU. So they're going to the big dance, and the lip lock liberal LSUers heading home. Good news for me. Florida Supreme Court allows 6-week abortion ban to take effect and open doors for ballot referendum. We'll talk about that. That's in the Daily Wire. So lots coming up, a lot to consider. But I've let you guys know this is a new prayer guidebook one of my listeners gave me. If My People. It's a great little book. It's got different passages for the day. And today's 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Pretty good book. Of course, it's from the book, the Bible. It's that's always good to have. Well, this is the 700 Club giving us a little bit of an update of the warning Iran has issued about revenge. See what you think.
Retaliation, punishment, revenge. That's what Iran is threatening against Israel after an attack on its consulate in Syria.
The strike killed 2 Iranian generals responsible for aiding terror groups in their war against the Jewish state. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports.
The attack on the consulate building in the Syrian capital is considered an attack on sovereign Iranian territory. Israel has not claimed responsibility for the blast that killed General Mohammad Reza Zahidi, along with his deputy and 5 other Iranian officers. General Zahidi was a commander in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Quds Force and a key figure in Iran's proxy war against Israel that provides training and weapons for terror groups in the region. Zahedi and his deputy reportedly meeting with those leaders inside the consulate, likely planning further strikes on Israel. Iran is threatening a harsh retaliation, and Hezbollah said the enemy would receive punishment and revenge. CBN News war correspondent Chuck Holton says Iran doesn't want a one-on-one war with Israel.
They want to continue with this proxy war through fighting Israel through the Houthis, through Hezbollah, and through Hamas.
That includes sending weapons to terrorists inside biblical Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. Israeli forces operating in the territories discovering weapons shipped by Iran.
Massive amounts of explosives. They're starting to find mines, landmines, hand grenades, rockets, light anti-tank weapons, all sorts of weapons like that. And that bodes very poorly for Israel.
If a force the size of the one from Gaza that struck Israel on October 7th came out of Judea and Samaria instead, the destruction and death toll could be much worse.
Because it basically surrounds Jerusalem on three sides. If 1,500 bad guys had come across into Jerusalem and started going crazy, they could have easily killed a lot more people.
That's what we're finding out. It seems like Iran and Hezbollah, as you guys know, joined at the hip. And not to walk you down memory lane too much, but don't forget, it was Donald Trump that froze the money to Iran. And it was Biden that unfroze the funds. And within 6 months of Biden unfreezing those funds, Hezbollah and all the attacks started around the world, especially on Israel. And I think we realize there's a connection. But don't forget, it was the Obama administration that flew cash to Iran in the middle of the night. Do you remember that? Also, we're finding out that the Iran nuclear deal that Obama started, Trump froze financially, but now Biden's released. The terms of that end in 2026. So understand this, whoever becomes president in 2024 will have a big agenda on their hands. But I've played this off and on, and don't forget, Hamas is ecstatic. They may not be winning with bombs and bullets, but they're winning the media and the perception battle among a lot of people in the world. They're getting a lot of sympathies, and they're dividing America and Israel in some regards.
They could absolutely wreak havoc in Jerusalem.
And I think a lot of people are concerned with that. Now, let's see if I can find the clip here. Here is the former ambassador Donald Trump appointed, and hear what he has to say.
The U.S. and Israeli government.
You know who's listening most carefully to this, of all people? Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas. You know, and he hears this, and you know what he says? He says, "Look what I did. You know, I destroyed the relationship between America and Israel. I destroyed the relationship between America and Israel. Look what I did. You know, I destroyed the relationship between America and Israel. I undermined the elected leader of the Jewish state."
And you got to admit that's probably brings him a lot of joy. And so we need to keep this in mind and in perspective. Now, Fox News is reporting about the chance death to America. These are protests that have erupted in Tehran after the Iran commander was killed.
This part of the scene on the streets of Tehran, Iranian protesters burning American flags and chanting "Death to America" in response to a strike in Syria that killed one of Tehran's top military commanders. Iran is blaming Israel, vowing to retaliate. Robert Greenway is the director of the Center for National Defense at the Heritage Foundation. Great to have you on, Robert, and good morning to you. Just a clip from the Wall Street Journal. The Iranians pay a price in Syria. Israel targets the generals orchestrating Tehran's terror war. What comes of this strike? He wasn't the head of the Quds force, but he was pretty high up there.
That's right. So Israel took a strike holding accountable the Iranian official chiefly responsible for maintaining the relationship, arms, equipment, training, planning, coordination, and funding for Hezbollah in Lebanon, and also for the armed militia groups operating within Syria supporting the Assad regime. And in doing so, they're holding Iran directly accountable. I think Iran was surprised to a certain extent. This strike was the most significant since the bombing of Islamic Jihad organizations Imad Mughniya in 2008. But as you said, a couple of rungs below Qasem Soleimani in 2020. I think they're caught by surprise, but it's likely they're going to apply additional pressure against the United States, believing that the United States is going to be willing to apply pressure to constrain Jerusalem and so thereby achieve their ends without having to directly confront Israel. And again, Israel has provided a path for us to recognize exactly what should be done to hold the Iranians accountable. It's the same individuals who planned, coordinated the attack that killed 3 Americans at the Tomsk garrison.
Now, that's interesting. There's so much going on in these negotiations, if you will, and you got to ask yourself. I'm just asking questions. I'm the guy. They tell you to look over here And I'm the guy that looks over here and says, why are they distracting me? But it seems like there's constantly a foreign foe that they want to push right before elections. Have you noticed that? In 2016, it was Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump's with Russia. You know, Russia bad, Trump bad. Russia, Russia, Russia. And then we come to find out everything they accused Donald Trump of, it was the Clintons that actually were dealing with Russians. And while she was Secretary of State, she sold 20% of our uranium. That's a big key for nuclear warfare to Russia. Savvy? So everything that involved, and then we found out finally under oath that Hillary Clinton's lawyer in a D.C. court admitted that they fabricated the dossier and got the FBI and others to play along, and nobody was held accountable. You got to ask yourself, what's coming up for 2024? Is Iran going to be the new boogeyman?
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-659-5731. 800-659-5731. 800-659-5731. That's 800-659-5731.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. That's 800-932-3721.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Deutsch, and if you or your business owe money to the IRS, I've got great news for you. Tax laws have changed. Billions of dollars are earmarked for IRS Fresh Start programs. And if you qualify, you can literally save tens of thousands of dollars. Listen, I know what you're going through. Call me if you want to speak with a tax attorney or tax professional for free.
800-964-0270. That's 800-964-0270.
Welcome back to the show. This is Mitchell Duncan, and we are excited about some of the things that you're going to see happening here. But I got to tell you what, Facebook wasn't our friend yesterday. We're back on Facebook today, so we'll see what happens. But we're checking out all the channels. But we are in now 32 states. We're also in the District of Columbia. We're in Mexico, Canada, and 16 other countries have tuned into the show through Street Level America or USA Heartbeat Radio. We appreciate that. Also, we want to give a shout out to SGM Radio in Alabama and the Freedom Network in New Jersey. Pastor, salute to you guys, and thank you so much for supporting the show. Those of you that like to like and share the show with your conservative friends and those that believe in like faith, we appreciate that. All the platforms are welcome. And we're shared on over 300 platforms each show, and we appreciate all the help do that. Lots going on. Now, here's the thing: the Iran and the Israel war. Okay, and it's actually Iran trying to use Hezbollah and a puppet group, if you will, to poke the bear of Israel, because what they would love to see happen is Israel declare war with Iran, and then Iran would pull in its buddy Russia, and Israel pull in its buddy America, and you have World War. China looks like it's going to be linking its connection with Russia. You're saying, May, so how can you say that? Don't forget, I've been teaching you guys for 2 years now about BRICS. BRICS, BRICS. It formed in 2010. That's where you got Brazil, Russia, India, China, and it was, just South Africa. Now you got Saudi Arabia. Different groups are joining BRICS. They're joining economically primarily, but now they're starting to potentially join militarily. Savvy? So if you get Brazil, Russia, India, and China, okay, just those right there, especially India, they've got a large people base and they've got a large army. And of course, so does China. And Russia's got nukes. Savvy? So if Iran is the little instigator that pulls everyone into a war, because they used to think it was going to be North Korea. You remember North Korea, everyone worried about Rocket Man and the rocket launches. And that kind of went away under Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, he crossed the zone, the demilitarized zone. Remember that? That was a phenomenal day. So under Donald Trump, you saw a quieting of Iran. He froze Iran's funds. He stopped their nuclear deal financially. He couldn't stop their ambitions, but he stopped them financially with all the funds that were being channeled through the Obama pals around the globe. Then what you have right now is Iran back on track with its nuclear program and with its little thug outlets like Hezbollah. And what they're going to do is two things they do on a regular basis. They go after Jews and they go after Christians. I don't know if any of you guys remember, ISIS was the term back then. ISIS, Hezbollah, whatever. They're Muslim henchmen. And they beheaded all those Christian men on the beach. Was it 39? If you remember, they're wearing the orange. And they broadcast it live. If you dare, you can go to YouTube and places, and you could watch beheadings of Christians or the hanging. They'll hang them. Now, if you promote anything against the against their narrative, you're pulled offline. But you can go watch people being beheaded or hung or shot. That's considered okay. That's not propaganda. You see where the media is at today? You see why people like me are growing and our listener base just keeps expanding? Because folks want truth and they want people to talk the normal stuff. Because when you see the media today, you see such a skewed view. I'm sorry. I just want to see it. I call it like I see it. And so the military, we're finding out that the military is now, because they're so far behind on their quotas, they're issuing a recall of the folks that are supposed to be inactive. Check this out.
Hi, everybody. When it comes to preparedness, lots of things we need to prepare for, including war. I've been talking about how the military is going to start conscription again in the United States. It looks like we've already taken that first step. Let's jump right into this. I've had numerous people send this to me, by the way. It's a document by the Army, utilization of the Army Retiree Recall Program. So first and foremost, even though this is not conscription yet, it's the first step toward basically bringing people back in for what's called the inactive ready reserve. When we see
the inactive military reserve, not a militia, the inactive military reserve. Listen up.
Reserve, any ready reserve are basically forces that we can keep basically on the back burner. You know what? If you just retired, you can't go back in. But in this document, what it's saying is the retirees absolutely may be recalled back into the military again. First, list Title 10 of the United States Code. That simply is just the code of basically how all this works. But I want to show you this also under Executive Order 13223.
Executive Order 13223. I repeat, Executive Order 13-223.
It orders this ready reserve of the armed forces to active duty and delegating certain authorities to the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Transportation. This executive order, if you look here, comes from nobody but George W. And George W. post 9/11, which we see declaration of national emergency by reason of certain terrorist acts, etc., creates a national emergency to protect the United States from further attacks.
Now, we're all heard about the Patriot Act. 9/11 produced a lot of power, if you will, to monitor us and to surveil the citizenship. But it also just superseded some normal protocol. If you were retired, I think it wasn't as easy. The president right now with this executive order, whoever's president, can pretty much recall. And if you refuse to report to duty, you are treated like in military court like a criminal, and you can be arrested for violation and derelict of duty. So this is interesting because a lot of folks are concerned that we're going to have military conflict here on American soil. Now, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, has issued 5 warnings to Congress. If you go back and check them out, he's saying there's a good chance that we'll have a conflict of 9/11 capacity on American soil because of the open border. Now, for the FBI director to give you that warning, plus Homeland Security has issued warnings. There's certain ICE former and current have said they're concerned about the high volume of mail crossings at the border, that they're concerned that there could be problems in the future, militarily, if you will, or with acts of injustice at the border. Now, with that in mind, I think a lot of people are saying, if that's the case, how come that they're allowed to continue to keep crossing the border? That's a good question. The border is up for debate, and I think that's where a lot of people are concerned. This is Senator Graham. He's got some good points, and see what you think. As he just basically tells you, there's 9 million people that are right now across the border, and we don't know where they are.
In opening up the southern border, and that's clearly what President Biden and the Democratic Party has done. He and they have clearly summoned spirits that they can't control.
Yes, definitely.
As best we can tell, about 9 million people, 9 million people, 9 million people, 9 million people, 4 Nebraskas have come into the United States. And we do not have the slightest idea who they are.
Oh my God!
That's true. 9 million plus in 3 or so years. Now, I want to remind you, back in his first 14 months, one of his own people down at the border, the lady testified in Congress that over 85,000 children were missing. They crossed the border, went through some form. Oh, my friends, those are human. Not only 85,000, many feel it's averaging 100,000 kids a year that Biden's been president. That's over 300,000 children. Now, if 9 million have crossed the border by their estimation, that's also including getaways, the ones that they can't keep. There seems to be a concern, and Biden and them just got admitted they were sneaky. Biden created the border crisis, and they're not solving it. This is another report. This is Fox Business.
An El Paso judge laid a big Easter egg yesterday, releasing more than 70 migrants who were rounded up after that riot that we all saw at the El Paso border involving the Texas National Guard. Joining me now is Chad Wolf, former DHS Secretary and Executive Director of AFBI. Chad, great to see you. I mean, with judges like this, you don't need Mayorkas. I mean, and apparently you were telling me in the commercial break, there are a lot of judges that have done this, that come from liberal-oriented cities that are releasing migrants just as quickly as Mayorkas is.
Bingo. The federal bench has now become political. It's more obvious now than ever. Not just the persecution of Donald Trump, but the releasing. People now are legislating from the bench based on their personal views and their political and religious or their non-religious values. That, to me, is unconstitutional. We were supposed to have judges. You remember Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. You remember she's blindfolded and has the weighing and just supposed to weigh evidence and facts. Not anymore. Not anymore. Judges are judging based on what they deem to be true and deem to be fit for them and their belief. It's a problem, and it's getting worse. That's who you vote for president or governor makes a difference. Governors and president appoint judges.
This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. I want to introduce to you one of our new sponsors, University Motors of Chattanooga. Kevin Bloom is a great patriot, and University Motors of Chattanooga. My wife's car was bought there, and now my car. I trust them enough that I do business with them. 423-713-5800. NugaUsedCars.com. That's NugaUsedCars.com. And tell them the Patriot Pastor sent you.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. That's 800-708-3092.
I'm proud to be an American. This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. And if you're looking for small projects like porches, patios, walkways, or even large projects like foundation work, Patriot Concrete is there for you. Cameron Lee, 423-215-6365. We've used Cameron for many projects at Appleton Baptist Church, and he and his team are awesome. That's 423-215-6365. These are all veterans that served our country. Let them serve you. Patriot Concrete is there for you.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-957-6062. 800-957-6062. 800-957-6062. That's 800-957-6062. Paid for by Term Direct.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Maisel Duncan, and I'm with Street Level America and USA Heartbeat Radio, broadcasting live in 32 states, a District of Columbia now, Mexico, Canada, and 16 other countries. And we appreciate all that like and share the show. Tell your friends about the Maisel Duncan Show. I am here broadcasting live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They have now made me my own private studio, and I appreciate Street Level America and Dave Adams, who is the owner and does so much for everything we got going on. Steve R. Johnson, one of our affiliates, and appreciate all that help us. Now, I don't know about you, but I love sports. But I love when a good person, the good guy, if you will, kind of steps up in sports. And one has stepped up in the lady ranks and it's Caitlin Clark. Check this out.
Caitlin Clark once again dancing with the basketball, seeing it go through the net.
It was in the Elite Eight last year where Caitlin Clark had a 41-point triple-double. She has a 40-point game tonight. 40 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds. 13th career 40-point game for the all-time leading scorer in Division I history.
Caitlin Clark, 41 points at the end of the night. And she got to tell LSU, not this year. But the sad thing is not about the scoreboard. LSU women's team leaves the court before national anthem. Did you hear about this? LSU has gone commie. Yep, communist. LSU women's team leaves court before national anthem, but coach later explains Iowa trounces them anyway. An NCAA tourney as Caitlin Clark scores 41 points and hits 9 3-pointers. And it's unreal. But the LSU girls left the court early on Monday night before the national anthem played in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. They did not want to wait on the court for the national anthem. The Iowa Hawkeyes stood on the court alone during the national anthem in reverence. And this is what's amazing. If you watch the video, they scan LSU empty. Iowa Hawkeyes, all in line, hands on the heart. That is Americana right there. And a lot of folks, it's little things like that that matter. That's why Caitlin Clark, I believe, is such an icon right now. Now, you may have heard, but she has been offered $5 million by Ice Cube to play in his 3-on-3 league. Now, the average pay for a WNBA player is $246,000 a year. That's right at $250,000. He's offered her $5 million one-year contract. Now, she has blown up the NIL. She's got contracts with Gatorade, State Farm, Nike, all kind of people because she sells. When she shows up, people notice. Do you know every game she's played in this year has sold out? Every game. And most of them last year. Every time Caitlin Clark comes to town, the opposing team, whether they probably know they're going to get beat, but they know they're going to make some money because she packs people in the seat. In Chicago, for instance, the average price of a ticket during the regular season for women's basketball, there was about $50 to $95. When Caitlin Clark came to town, it jumped to $246. It's a lot of money to pay, but people were paying it. Why? Because she's worth the price of admission. She never disappoints. She can hit the Steph Curry level 3. She comes across half court. They call it the something there in the middle of the court where the logo is. I think it's called the logo 3 or something, and she launches. And the kid is on fire. She's a straight white female, and it's blowing up the left narrative. There's folks in the WNBA that don't want her in there because she doesn't fit their lifestyle and other things. And I think that's such a shame. So it would not surprise me if she went with Ice Cube's offer. Now she'd be playing with men, but what if she played there just for a year, made her $5 million, then went to WNBA? Don't know. But it's going to be interesting. But way to go, Caitlin Clark. Way to be a champion in the midst of doubters and pouters. And can you imagine the pressure? She has stood up, I mean, and continue to perform. Can you imagine the pressure of knowing everyone's watching? They're waiting for her to trip. They're waiting for her to miss a shot. They're waiting to do things because last year, the LSU star, if you remember, she did the thing about the ring and just kept on being obnoxious. And she turned out to be pretty much the villain because all year long, those kept being replayed. Well, it may have been one reason why the select committee, for some reason, put LSU and Iowa in the same bracket. which is not normal. Usually you put your best team, in LSU, the defending national champs, that played against Iowa. You would think you'd put them in separate brackets so they might meet again for like a number 2. But I think they want UConn because UConn's got a superstar girl as well. And it's going to be interesting to see if UConn and Iowa match up at some point. That will be another game to watch. So anyway, my hat's off to Caitlin Clark. She puts up with a lot, and she's done a wonderful job, in my opinion, holding up under the pressure. What about another lady that many of you know? Her name is Hillary Rodham Clinton. Check this out.
You know, it looks like the election of 2024 is going to look a lot like the election of 2020. What do you have to say with that? Here she is.
Biden versus Trump.
Yes,
we know that.
It is. It is.
What do you say to voters who are upset that those are the two choices?
Get over yourself. Those are the two choices.
Yeah, love that.
Right? And
good.
you know, it's kind of like one is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people.
She shouldn't say that about Trump. Isn't that sweet of her? Way to go, Hillary. Have you seen the error of your ways? I doubt it. But anyway, when you start thinking about this, there's people doubting that Biden's going to have the full support of the Democratic Party.
Understand why this is even a hard choice, really. I don't understand it. But we have to go through the election, and hopefully people will realize what's at stake, because it's an existential question. What kind of country we're going to have, what kind of democracy we're going to have, and people who blow that off are not paying attention.
We're paying attention, Sweet Cheeks. It's just we don't like you. Now, that's the thing that's going to be happening. Now, here's the thing. A lot of folks are noticing, and as you start looking, this is the Gateway Pundit reporting here, that RFK Jr. argues Joe Biden possesses a greater threat to democracy than Donald Trump. He's on CNN. That's the Clinton News Network, as you guys know the pun. But RFK Jr. responds to a Dem and GOP attacks that he's the spoiler. Okay, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made an explosive argument suggesting that Joe Biden possesses the greater threat to American democracy than the former president Donald Trump. The statement came during an interview with CNN's Aaron Burnett on Aaron Burnett's Out Front. When the Burnett questioned RFK Jr.'s stance on the threats to democracy, the environmental attorney and political activist did not hesitate to speak up. But do you really believe, this is what Burnett said, that when people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden? And then this is his response. I don't know what you guys think about this, but I think it was pretty powerful. And I'm going to let you listen to the audio of this. Way to go, Kennedy. Hats off to this guy.
The threat to democracy that Trump poses. Do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me for 37 hours after he took the oath of office. He was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. President Biden, for the first president in history, used his power over the Secret Service to deny Secret Service protection to one of his political opponents for political reasons. He's weaponizing the federal agencies. Those are really critical threats
Donald
to
Trump,
democracy.
of course.
Wow. That was a Democrat laying in to the Biden administration. But understand this, Obama did the same thing. When Jack Dorsey was running Twitter, he was allowing the FBI, the CIA, Homeland Security, different agents on a weekly basis to come in and monitor the media, helping shape what they wanted to call the narrative. And they were also allowed to monitor people's personal sites. It's also been proven that happens at Facebook through Meta. It just so happens that when Elon Musk bought out Twitter and now calls it X, that he exposed all this. Now, Zuckerberg still allows it. If you want to have some fun, you go to your account where it says block something, type in FBI cybersecurity. See how many of them pop up. I'll be back.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. That's 800-803-3771.
This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. I want to introduce to you one of our new sponsors, University Motors of Chattanooga. Kevin Bloom is a great patriot, and University Motors of Chattanooga. My wife's car was bought there, and now my car. I trust him enough that I do business with him. 423-713-5800. NugaUsedCars.com. That's NugaUsedCars.com. And tell them the Patriot Pastor sent you. I'm proud to be an American. This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. And if you're looking for small projects like porches, patios, walkways, or even large projects like foundation work, Patriot Concrete is there for you. Cameron Lee, 423-215-6365. We've used Cameron for many projects at Appleton Baptist Church, and he and his team are awesome. That's 423-215-6365. These are all veterans that served our country. Let them serve you. Patriot Concrete is there for you.
Attention business owners. Have you already filed for your employer retention credit with the IRS? As reported in a major financial paper, the IRS will be slowing down ERC checks. You could now be waiting several months to a year plus to get your ERC money. We can help you get it within 10 days. As long as you've already filed for your ERC with the IRS, we can advance you the money. Finance ERC has already funded millions of dollars in ERC money. You don't need to wait to get your money. We can get it to you within 10 days. Again, if you've already filed your employer retention credit, we can help you get the money in your bank account within 10 days from today. But you need to call right now while time is on your side. Here's our number. Not available in all states.
800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. That's 800-570-7651.
Hello, my friends. We're back. This is Maisel Duncan. And the interesting thing about what we were just talking about is RFK or Jr., he's catching up a lot of favorability. Here's one of his ads, Kennedy, and he's gaining ground. See what you think.
Hey, everybody, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm an independent candidate for President of the United States. If you're under 30, you probably know my name, but you may not know much about me. My uncle, John F. Kennedy, was the 35th President of the United States. My father was his Attorney General and was himself a candidate for president when he was assassinated in 1968. Although I grew up around the White House, I'm definitely not a career politician. I've spent the last 40 years of my career as an environmental lawyer and advocate fighting large corporate polluters and corrupt government agencies and trying to protect America's wild places and the quality of your food, the quality of the water you drink, and the quality of the air that you breathe.
Now, that's a pretty good ad. Now, you need to understand that he is being pretty well liked. And this is Fox News poll saying that he just passed both Biden and Trump in favorability. Hang on just a sec.
All right, let's talk politics. A brand new Fox News poll finds that independent candidate RFK Jr. actually beats both Trump and Biden in favorability, as you can see the numbers right there. And their campaigns are reacting to the growing chance that he could actually change the course of the election of 2024.
Now, the poll shows Kennedy at 47%, Trump at 45%, and Biden at 39%. Now, the interesting thing is you add all that, that's over 100%, so someone's math's off. But anyway, 47% Kennedy favorability versus Trump at 45. More likely, I think Biden. I think if you take 47% and 45, what's that left? 3. I think that's more likely Biden's favorability. But they're trying to say Biden is 39%. Again, somebody needs to get their calculator out and redo it. But regardless, Fox News is saying that Kennedy, in a recent poll, seems to be more favorable than the other two. And here's an interview with Kennedy on Fox News. You heard him on CNN. He kind of went after Biden, but hear him again.
That he has no path to victory. He is playing the role of spoiler candidate.
He's probably the most liberal person in the race, including the Green Party. I think he's probably going to hurt Biden. I don't see him hurting me.
So let's ask that man how he feels about those comments about him. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is here now. Congratulations. Great to see you. Congratulations on getting on North Carolina. And you've named Nicole Shanahan your running mate.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of these states require, don't they, Robert? They need you to name a running mate ahead of time for some reason.
There are 26 states where you can't start gathering signatures to get on the ballot without having a running mate first. So
I don't know if you heard him because he does have a. By the way, he has a throat issue and he blames it on vaccines that they have side effects, and he believes his was avoidable. That he was not born with this speech impediment. He's very against a lot of big pharma. Very interesting, Kennedy. But he said to get on 26 states in the Democratic Party, you can't be on the ballot without an announced vice president candidate. So that's why he went ahead and announced his vice president candidate. Listen a little bit more.
the announcement of Nicole as our running mate allows us now to get on those states, and we're going to move very, very quickly to get on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a conservative base that every political party watches Fox, but a lot of conservatives like Fox. They like where you stand on vaccines, men playing in women's sports, immigration. What other conservative issues do you have that will appeal to those voters?
Well, I don't look at myself as liberal or conservative. I feel like I'm common sense on issues.
That's a good answer. I don't consider myself liberal or conservative. I consider myself common sense on issues. So the guy has been well prepped. I've got to tell you now. I would vote for him over Biden, no doubt. I would still, if out of the three in the race, I'm pulling for Trump. But Kennedy is saying some things that makes people like me say he doesn't scare me. Biden scares me. This guy doesn't scare me. And it's interesting, some of the things he says and how he says it. And if you remember, this is him at Easter. Okay, I'm a pastor. This will preach. Listen to what he says about Easter. This is Kennedy.
Buddy, this message is for those of you who hold Easter as an important holiday. For many people today, Easter is about Easter bunnies and jelly beans. But for me, growing up in the household in which I did, it's not just a holiday, it's a holy day. For me, the meaning of Easter is about hope from beyond all hope. The story of Christ's resurrection has sustained me throughout my lifetime. And during those many times when I'd reached the end of my inner resources and had to put my faith entirely in God.
I'm telling you, that'll preach. And if you go and watch the video, they've got an open tomb. They got a crown of thorns. It's very, very Christian appealing. Now, I know some of you say, Maisel, don't be led down a primrose path. I'm just saying, Biden, all he could do on Easter was try to exonerate transgenderism. This guy is a Democrat. It tells me that there's some Democrats out there with some common sense. I'm not going to agree on everything with them, but this guy could save the Democratic Party. What I don't understand is why more Democrats aren't coalescing around him. I'm not talking about voters. I'm talking about politicians. At some point, I think you could might, because you have, think about these folks that have left the Democratic Party, okay? And they've gone independent. You got Tulsi Gabbard, powerhouse. She was the AOC before AOC. She was predicted to be a future leader and was on her way. She was a VP of the party. She was a super delegate. She had it all going, but then she and Hillary had a falling out because when Hillary stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders, she stood up and said, that's wrong. Amazing that she did that at her young career, and it cost her. It cost her. But you have Tulsi Gabbard. You've got Kristen Sinema that walked away and declared herself an independent. Joe Lieberman back in the day, you remember? They tried to boot him out of the party. He ran as an independent, won his district, and stayed independent and caucused with both parties. But Joe Manchin has said in 2024 he can't promise he'll be a Democrat. And he's announced he's not running for re-election because the polls show that West Virginia is going red because they love Donald Trump. And more than likely, and I'll play a clip for you in a little bit, who looks like he's going to get the seat. So are you with me on this? Kennedy could actually be the person that revives the Democratic Party. Okay, I'm just saying, if I were a Democrat and I was a Christian, I would get behind this guy. That's all I'm saying. Now, I just think it's amazing the different links he's going to appeal to the if you want to call it the Christian voters. And don't forget, this is what he said on CNN, pretty much blasting the Biden administration.
But do you really believe that when people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. For 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. President Biden, for the first president in history, to use his power over the Secret Service to deny Secret Service protection to one of his political opponents for political reasons. He's weaponizing the federal agencies. Those are really critical threats
Donald
to democracy.
Trump, of course.
Let me tell you something that would be amazing. What if Donald Trump agreed to debate Kennedy? Because Biden doesn't want to debate. Fine. Biden, you stay in your basement, the hiding Biden. Let America hear this guy go against Trump. There's enough out there. I think it would be blockbuster. And I think what Donald Trump would do by doing this he would put Biden out of the race. That's just me. I don't know what you think. Now, Democratic strategists are going to freak out, and they are. But this guy's appealing to so many of the voters, and here's some more of his campaign ad. The young people seem to love him.
My hope is that your generation and that of your children will have the same opportunities for dignity and enrichment and prosperity and good health as the communities that earlier generations of Americans gave to my generation. And right now, I'm the top choice for young voters in this country.
And he puts up the poll. Favorability of candidates by young people. He's at 52%. Donald Trump is at 41%. Joe Biden, 46%. Ron DeSantis, 44%. Nikki, the flip-flopper Haley, at 43%. And Vivek Swamy was last at 37%. Now, I'm not sure when this poll actually was put out, but that shows he's had a high favorability with the young people in this country for some time. That's going to not bode well with the Democrats because the ethnic groups are trending towards Trump in big numbers, and Trump's winning. Now, if Kennedy comes in and wins the young vote, this is what I could see happening. Donald Trump would win the election, but Kennedy would be your Democratic candidate for 2028 because Trump only has 4 years. You think about that. Kennedy, and it's amazing this guy hasn't run for Senate or Congress. Okay, with all the pedigree in his family, he's really smart. He's sharp on his feet. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. Let's listen to the rest of his ad as we get ready to the break.
I'm also the most feared and hated candidate in Washington, D.C. among the elites because I'm not bought and I'm not viable by corporate interests or by the big lobbyists. As president, I'm going to end the forever wars. They bankrupted your generation and left you with $33 trillion in debt and gotten us nothing in return. I'm going to bring the money back to our communities to rebuild the American middle class. Did you know that the Pentagon has failed every single audit in history? You work hard, you pay your taxes, you play by the rules, but the government clearly is not working for you. The political elites want you to own nothing and be happy. The corrupt merger of state and corporate power has systematically stripped mined your generation of its wealth and equity and turned America from the world's exemplary democracy into a crooked corporate kleptocracy. By driving up the price of housing, they are transforming America from an ownership society to a rental society. And when they do that, Americans go from being citizens to being subjects. I'm going to end all that. I'm going to help you buy your first home with a 3% government-backed mortgage rate plan. I'm also going to bring rental prices down, which no one in Washington seems to want to talk about. And I get it. Why should you believe me? You're feeling disenfranchised, disillusioned, disenchanted with the whole political process. The folks in power have gotten your generation nowhere. They've crippled you with debt, and let's be honest, they've lied to you. My father told me when I was a little kid that people in authority lie, and our government and the mainstream media are now lying to us every day. And I say that enough is enough, and that's why I look forward to earning your vote. Put me under a microscope. Hold me to account. I'm applying for a job, and you're the recruiters. For more information, head to Kennedy24.com.
Kennedy24.com. I'm just telling you, he's got a lot of good ideas, and especially when he brought up that the Pentagon has failed every audit. What's that telling you? The guy, plus the other thing you got to admit, being a Kennedy, he knows where some of the bodies are buried. He's heard the stories. His Uncle Teddy, and I know he had Chappaquiddick. He's got some stain there. His father and his Uncle John, they try to say they were ladies' men. They but I hate to tell you this, about every president you've heard something immoral about other than Reagan and Carter. Okay, Bill Clinton, you've heard stuff about the Obamas. You've heard stuff about the Kennedys. You've heard stuff about most of the modern day presidents having issues with scandals, if you will. But the bottom line is Kennedy sounds like a breath of fresh air for the Democratic Party. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying I would vote for him. Like I said, if the election's today, I'm still voting Trump. But I think Kennedy has people like me that would probably say heck to the no are saying, hey, if the right things happened, you never know. There's always that possibility because Donald Trump, there's always that chance they imprison him or they do something to where he can't run. And if that happens, you need other options. And what he's becoming is the other option. I think a lot of folks are saying, hey, I think I might consider voting for him. That's just me. Well, let's see what else is going on out here in the news we can bring up. This going back to the immigration. This is Fox News. See what you think.
Showing the previously undisclosed cities where the White House flew in 386,000 illegal immigrants from unknown countries. This all happening between October of 2022 and this past February. 326,000 of them went through Miami.
So this is where they went to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, Dallas, and Houston. Okay, but they're also down in Miami. The interesting thing is 90% of these that were flown primarily into Texas and Florida. Check that out. 90% were and is that an attempt to flip red states blue or purple, making them where they're not strong red majorities? You got to ask yourself this because it's very interesting. Some folks seem to have that. Now, I've got that right here. This is the Gateway Pundit. Wicked Joe flew 90% of illegals in secret flights in his program to Florida and Texas. Okay. And the migrants arriving in Biden's flight program, as I mentioned, Boston, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But the majority were flown to Miami, 326,000. To Miami, 326,000. The next largest was Texas, 21,964 to Houston. Now, Texas is getting tons of foot traffic on top of that. The next largest number, 326,000 to Miami, 21,000 to Houston. The next largest number is Los Angeles at 8,382. Now, you'd think you'd take that 326 and fly them down there to Los Angeles because California, they've got they've got all that liberal funding. Now, they do have San Francisco at 4,574. So you add San Francisco, Los Angeles, that's about 13,000 people. Miami, 326,000. They're trying to flip Florida. There's no doubt about it. Baltimore, 3,784. Boston, 4,879. Chicago, a mere 1,556. What's that tell you, my friends? And don't forget, there was a flight here to Chattanooga. It's not made that, but they flew in a bunch of kids. And they flew them in the middle of the night. They were put into the old Temple University downtown dormitories. They put up visqueen to block and so you couldn't see what was going on. Sexual accusations arose. Next thing you know, in the middle of the night, they flew those kids back out, and no one knows where they are, what their names were. But there are people downtown Chattanooga that are, and you're going to be held accountable by God, my friends. If you are part of any sexual trafficking or any knowledge that kids were abused sexually, whether they were citizens or not, under the care of Chattanooga, Tennessee, shame, shame, shame on you. Don't mind saying that. Well, the Texas National Guard retakes control of El Paso border and installs miles of razor wire and new anti-climb fence. Evidently, on Tuesday morning, the Texas National Guard defied the Biden regime and again took control of El Paso border, installing concertina wire, that's razor wire, in the new anti-climb fence. So Texas has had quite a deal, because on Easter you had a rogue Democratic judge release people that they had arrested. So they said, we're just going to go back and put up more wire. So we're playing a game of cat and mouse in the legal system. It's a mockery. It's debauchery. And somebody needs to set up and set a true standard. I think a lot of Americans are saying, who's in charge? And will the real leader stand up? You know, it's almost to that point. And former DHS Secretary Jay Johnson says impeaching Mayorkas is political charade. And I hate to say it, GOP, it's a little late. I mean, the election's just a few months away, and all of a sudden, let's impeach Mayorkas. I think this is just for political fodder more than to get anything done myself. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if they really intend on doing any super duper damage to him. But anyway, it's just political theater. Right before the election, they just want to damage Biden and his border reputation. They're not going to impeach this guy.
Normalization, the normalizing of things like this. Are you concerned about the Department of Homeland Security being undermined in the long term, especially?
Yes. Mika, many people forget that Homeland.
By the way, this is MSNBC Mika. She's so concerned for America.
And security is much more than border security. It's cybersecurity, it's counterterrorism, it's maritime security, it's aviation security through the TSA, it's the protection of our national leaders through the Secret Service, it's FEMA, it's protection of federal government buildings. And so the secretary at any one time has at least 10 different missions, including the immigration border security mission. And my biggest concern about this political charade, which we're about to undergo in the Senate, is that it, first of all, degrades the process. It's a constitutionally prescribed process. It degrades the process, but it...
Blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is they're going to use it to shame Biden. Mayorkas is going to be the scapegoat, and the Democrats and the Republicans are just going to yell and shout and scream, yes, we need open borders. No, we don't. And before it's all said and done, we're all going to say, who's in charge? Again, who's in charge? Because it sure ain't Biden. I think we all know that. A lot of folks think, is it Obama calling the shots? Is he just a puppet there? Don't know. But for them to open up the border as wide as they have to allow this many people in, you got to ask yourself, the military's in charge, May, so don't forget 17 community. Oh, really? You're telling me the military, if they're in charge, they want to see an invasion of the border? I'm just asking. Well, then, who's in charge? Mayorkas isn't doing this all by himself. Savvy? Yes, he's obviously a liberal hack. He's obviously in favor of the border being open, but he, as a committee of one, did not open the border. Okay? Now, you got to remember, when Trump campaigned, one of his things was Make America Great, and he went down, he put on a white MAGA hat at the time, before it went red, and said, Make America Great, and he said, we're going to build a wall. And he says, and every time Mexico, whatever, it gets higher. You remember all that hyperbole. When he finally won the election, he's in office, Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, refused to help him. For his first 2 years, Trump found out that the GOP is nothing but they blow smoke. Pat Buchanan talked about building a wall back in the 80s. Do you remember that? And the Republicans and the Democrats thought that was ludicrous. Donald Trump forced their hand, and by building as much of the wall as he did, he had to go around Congress, his own Congress, and use Pentagon funding. Do you remember that? So understand, there is a value to an open border to the elites. It's slave labor, sexual perversion, drugs, guns, and what else are smuggling. I had the chance to interview 4 ladies that came up the journey, a mom and her 3 daughters. Everyone had been raped more than once. And they were put on birth control. It's not something I'm proud to say over the air. But it's very sad that they knew their price to get into America, and they knew it was coming. They were told, be prepared, take birth control, you will be violated on your journey. Now, I got to ask you something. I know you're going to think I'm people want this country so bad, there are women willing to give their daughters birth control and let them be violated to get in America. That's how bad where they are is and how much they have hope for America. Do you see why we're the beacon of hope in this country and for the world? Now, that is so sad that that has to happen that way. We can do better, America. We can do better, and dadgummit, Congress can do better. I'll be back.
Attention business owners. Have you already filed for your employee retention credit with the IRS? As reported in a major financial paper, the IRS will be slowing down ERC checks. You could now be waiting several months to a year plus to get your ERC money. We can help you get it within 10 days. As long as you've already filed for your ERC with the IRS, we can advance you the money. Finance ERC has already funded millions of dollars in ERC money. You don't need to wait to get your money. We can get it to you within 10 days. Again, if you've already filed your employer retention credit, we can help you get the money in your bank account within 10 days from today. But you need to call right now while time is on your side. Here's our number. Not available in all states.
800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. That's 800-570-7651.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. That's 800-932-3721.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. That's 800-708-3092.
I'm proud to be an American. This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan, and if you're looking for small projects like porches, patios, walkways, or even large projects like foundation work, Patriot Concrete is there for you. Cameron Lee, 423-215-6365. We've used Cameron for many projects at Appleton Baptist Church, and he and his team are awesome. That's 423-215-6365. These are all veterans that served our country. Let them serve you. Patriot Concrete is there for you.
bring in the sheriff now, Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, to talk more about this of Terrell County, Texas. Thank you for being with us. Under these circumstances, being threatened, being taunted online, what is the most concerning of the messages that you have received so far, Sheriff?
Hey, good morning, Marnie, and thanks for having me back. I don't put a whole lot of worry. I'm pretty secure in my faith, and I've taken an oath, on 3 different occasions, first in the United States military, then as a U.S. Border Patrol agent, now as sheriff. So, I'm going to do what's right for our citizens, for our nation. And, regardless of what's thrown at us, you just got to chalk that up in the back of your mind and continue to do what you do.
Now, this is a sheriff. He's on News Nation explaining how the cartel is using social media to try to threaten and intimidate sheriffs and people that are trying to secure the border. Listen to his story. Here's a sheriff who's been sworn in. He worked at Border Patrol. He's in the military. Now he's a sheriff. And did you hear him say, I'm a man of faith? But let him tell the rest of his story. He has been threatened by the cartel, and they use the social media to monitor especially people in the border area, much like the FBI and CIA and other alphabet agencies like to monitor people like me on social media.
I know you work in close proximity, one with the members of your own department, but have you coordinated with other sheriffs and other local law enforcement leaders? Are they receiving similar taunts and threats as you are?
No, ma'am, I hadn't had a lot of coordination with that. And again, usually if I get something like that, I may share with our local Border Patrol agents and again, within house here. But even when I was at the Border Patrol, there were times when we would receive information that the cartel would put out a hit for any Border Patrol agent, at various amounts. But again, typically it just comes with the territory.
So the cartel puts out a bounty that if you kill a Border Patrol agent, they're going to pay you. Now, you've got to ask yourself, if someone naive comes into this country, they're desperate for funds. You may have heard the guys that did the shooting in Moscow, as those immigrants have been questioned, they were paid, I just want to say it's under $5,000 each, and given a gun and say, hey, shoot people, we'll pay you more money. Well, that was to them a big bunch of money. And they were led to believe they were going to be taken care of while they were captured. And, of course, Russia shuts down more immigration and starts shipping people out. You got to ask yourself the difference between the way we do business and other countries. It's rather shocking. I mentioned to you this earlier, but recruitment in the military has been down. And this gentleman, who is a retired military man, is saying that they're being called back up. With conflict potentially coming, the FBI director has issued 5 warnings that we might have conflict on American soil. Here's a guy explaining how there's an executive order, thanks to George W. Bush, that can call you back to active service.
Prepare for, including war. I've been talking about how the military is going to start conscription again in the United States. It looks like we've already taken that first step. Let's jump right into this. I've had numerous people send this to me, by the way. It's a document by the Army, utilization of the Army Retiree Recall Program. So first and foremost, even though this is not conscription yet, it's the first step toward basically bringing people back in for what's called the inactive Ready Reserve. When we see Ready Reserve, any Ready Reserve are basically forces that we can keep basically on the back burner. You know what? If you just retired, you can't go back in. But in this document, what it's saying is the retirees absolutely may be recalled back into the military again. First, it lists Title 10 of the United States Code. That simply is just the code of basically how all this works. But I want to show you this also under Executive Order 13223.
Executive Order 13223. Again, Executive Order under George Bush 13223. Check it out.
It orders this Ready Reserve of the Armed Forces to active duty and delegating certain authorities to the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Transportation.
So Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, am I right? And the transportation, Buttigieg? Ew. Who would want to report to Buttigieg if you're being recalled back into the military? But that's the fact, Jacks. So something interesting to consider. We'll change topics. Daily Wire Trump posts bond in his New York silver fraud case, preventing seizure of his assets. Don't you know, that was interesting. You had the lip lock liberals, Lolita James, they're all of a sudden, and then he sells True Social, and in a day he doubles his wealth. He goes from about a billionaire of about $3 billion to over 6.5. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. I believe the button popped. A lot of people talk about, and I have pudgy moments, and I'm in one now. Okay, we all go up and down on the way, but you got to, the lady James in New York, she wears these suits, and she tightens that button barely, fits in there. And it's like tight. I mean, you're waiting for her to laugh or burp, and that thing will pow. I mean, that could probably kill someone. I bet you she popped a button when she got the news that Trump not only got the appeal, a third of the judgment down, and then he got his True Social. And so they're planning to bankrupt him because, see, they knew he had cash on hand between $4 and $5 million. And they posted that judgment to try to completely wipe him out so that he would not have money for rallies, campaign ads, etc., and the legal fees. Boy, talk about backfire. And it just brings joy to my heart when a lip lock liberal messes up. Well, 38 chaplains asked the Supreme Court to stop the U.S. military from punishing faith. These are non-vaxxers in the military, and COVID has been way over. But dozens of U.S. military chaplains have joined together to challenge what a report in the Federalist describes as a military decision to punish their faith. The case of Alvarado versus Austin, how is pending before U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts and concerns the decision by the Department of Defense to continue defying the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act that rescinded the military's COVID shot mandate. The DOD continues to violate the law by failing to rescind its punishment of conscious objectors, such as denied training, deployment required for promotions, etc. They're saying they're being picked on and alienated just because their rights of religious freedom, not wanting to take what I call the infection injection. So let's keep a prayer that the Supreme Court does the right thing. And I think this is interesting. Panic. James Carville warns Democrats that young minority voters are leaving them in droves. Now, he's the guy that said it's the economy, stupid. You remember? James Carville, who was the the Clintons' campaign manager, he went on to say this, and see what you think.
You know, I've been very vocal about this. It's horrifying. Our numbers among younger voters, particularly younger blacks, younger Latinos, or whatever, but whatever younger people of color, particularly males. We're not shedding them; they're leaving in the droves.
I like that. Did you hear that?
They're leaving in the droves. Leaving in the droves. They're leaving in the droves.
Touchdown, Trump. Yes. James Carville is having a meltdown because his party is having problems with the younger generation, and I think it's rather hilarious. But this is MSNBC. James Carville warns of Democratic Party's horrifying numbers among young minority voters. Now, this against lip lock liberal news. This is MSNBC. Democrat strategist James Carville warned Sunday that the Democratic Party is eroding numbers among young minority voters, and he calls it horrifying heading into a presidential election. Well, who is gaining young affection and voters? Kennedy. So the Democrats, I think, have embraced the wrong person. But he goes on to say, I've been very vocal about this. The former Bill Clinton campaign strategist said on his Carville Classroom podcast, it's horrifying our numbers among young voters, particularly young blacks, young Latinos, younger people of color, particularly males. Well, I don't think they like the guys in the girls' sports, okay? And James Carville, to be on MSNBC and all the other networks, plus his podcast, I think that is speaking volumes that the Democrats are running a little scared about this upcoming election. And MSNBC ran this, saying Trump's Christian nationalists could hurt him bigly coming November. And Senator Ralph Warnock, the Georgia Democrat, and senator who pastors an Atlanta iconic Ebenezer Baptist Church, knows a thing or two about Scripture. The devil read the Bible, my friend. That doesn't mean you're an expert on it. Well, anyway, moving on. JFK Jr. Biden's censorship regime is arguably a worse threat than Trump. This is in the Federalist. If you'd like to see a very conservative view, they go on to examine the comments made by Kennedy. Kennedy has said on CNN and Fox News that Biden is worse for the future of America than Trump. And he's a Democrat.
I'm proud to be an American. This is the Patriot Pastor Mason Duncan, and if you're looking for small projects like porches, patios, walkways, or even large projects like foundation work, Patriot Concrete is there for you. Cameron Lee, 423-215-6365. We've used Cameron for many projects at Appleton Baptist Church, and he and his team are awesome. That's 423-215-6365. These are all veterans that served our country. Let them serve you. Patriot Concrete is there for you.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-957-6062. 800-957-6062. 800-957-6062. That's 800-957-6062. Paid for by Term Direct.
This is the Patriot Pastor Mason Duncan. I want to introduce to you one of our new sponsors, University Motors of Chattanooga. Kevin Bloom is a great patriot, and University Motors of Chattanooga. My wife's car was bought there, and now my car. I trust him enough that I do business with them. 423-713-5800. NugaUsedCars.com. That's NugaUsedCars.com. And tell them the Patriot Pastor sent you.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. That's 800-803-3771.
Well, my friends, I'm back, and a lot of folks have said, hey, Mesa, where's Jolene Carter and Maria Wagner and the gang and Bobby? They'll be back soon. We're still working out a couple of issues here with the board. I got a new board. The studio's new, but we want to make sure we've got all good before I have people in studio or call-ins. So call-ins are coming very soon. We have met with some investors. We've got some other folks wanting to take the show to another level. And so we're opening up all those options. I'm just letting them do that. And so you say, well, Maisel, are you making any money on the side on this? No, I get to raise money for the pantry. We have an Apison food pantry. And believe it or not, these things right here called Vienna sausages, these are like gold downtown, because when you go downtown like we do and minister to those that are homeless, they have bad teeth. I learned that one time. I took a big thing of apples, fresh apples down there, and I wondered why nobody was taking them. And one guy said, hey, preach, I want you to know something. They call me Preacher Man in the white van. They go, a lot of us have bad teeth. He pulled his lip out and showed me, and it was sad. He only had like 4 on the bottom and 5 on the top. He goes, but them Vienna sausages. So if you want to help us, make a donation, because we have to buy these things. And go to www.apisonbaptist.com. That's apisonbaptist.com, APISON, apisonbaptist.com. That's our website. Go on our giving venue, and please be generous. $25. Those bags that we take downtown average about $4.80 a bag. We put bottled water, roll of toilet tissue, Vienna sausage, protein bars, few other things, and then whatever's donated, sometimes socks, always a Gideon New Testament, etc. But we go downtown and give those out to hundreds, and many are veterans, and we get to bring encouragement, hope, and prayer to them. Not to mention our food pantry up here. We rent 2 old grocery stores, and we're feeding over 1,400 family units at least once. We don't count people twice. Some of them come every week, but just to be safe, we're feeding, and that's averaging 3 or so per family. That's over 3,000 people we're feeding. And my friends, as you all know, price of groceries has gone up. If you could be generous and give online at www.apisonbaptist.com, any size of gift would be appreciated, and your prayers. And I appreciate that. Well, coming up this Thursday, Tim Hawkins is going to be in Chattanooga. And I think he's one of the funniest guys on the planet. Here's one of his joke moments.
My 18-year-old Spencer, I love him to death, but he's big now. He's lifting weights. He's got muscles, man. He's ripped, shredded. He walks in the kitchen without a shirt on. Takes a whole gallon of milk. He goes, hey, Dad, I got 8% body fat. What do you got? Money? What you say? Yeah, oh, I don't know where that came from. Oh, there's some more. I don't know how that's happening. Oh, you got no gas in the car? Why don't you run up to the gym? Maybe you drop down to 7%. We'll see what happens. I'm going to drive up to the store, get some Krispy Kreme, boy. Don't get me a dozen Krispy Kreme. Oh, you got a 6-pack? I got a 12-pack. I'm going to put some MSG on my GMO. Yeah.
That's Tim Hawkins, and go to his website, Tim Hawkins. And when he's in an area near you, you ought to check him out. His shows are hilarious. And me and my wife are going on a date night Thursday night. Looking forward to it. A lot of Christians in the area. And like I said, Tim Hawkins is hilarious. And many of you guys probably know the Christian song, Jesus Take the Wheel. Big time, popular back in the day. He did a rendition called Cletus Take the Reel. They're out fishing.
I was fishing last Friday on a lake in Mississippi in the humid summer heat. On a boat with my best friend Cletus, who was sleeping in the back seat. Well, the bites were slow and we were running low on chips and Gatorade. It'd been a long, hard day. Felt a tug on the line and I didn't pay attention, spinning way too fast. Before I knew it, I was staring at a 10-pound shiny bass. When I tried to pull the fish inside, I pulled a muscle in my upper thigh. I was so scared, I threw my rod up in the air. Cletus, take the reel, take it from my hands, 'cause I can't do this on my own. I'm letting go, and I need your help fast. And if you don't, my fish is gone. Oh, Cletus, take the reel.
So that's Cletus Take the Wheel. So anyway, Tim Hawkins, he's a funny guy. I highly recommend. Well, Florida community members and a father explaining what squatters are doing. This is said this could happen to you. He talks about what happened in his neighborhood because law enforcement said their hands were tied, and it pretty much brought a lot of bad stuff their way.
Squatters turned the house across the street from us into a drug and prostitution house. We live in a good and decent neighborhood, flanked by an elementary and high school. We have at least a dozen kids on our street who play outside every day, in addition to all the kids walking to and from school. The squatters brought reckless driving, drugs, weapons, and verbal threats to the lives of my neighbors. We came together to work with police. We put up floodlights, cameras, called the police whenever there was suspicious activity. The police would arrest the drug buyers, but never the squatters.
The police would arrest the drug buyers, but never the squatters. Why is that? What is the deal? Why are they getting away with taking people's property from them? So they would arrest the people visiting, but not the people actually hosting the damage. Now, this is John Stossel talking about trespassers welcome and how the law is protecting squatters.
It's my house. It is his house, but the man inside who won't pay rent keeps him from using it. Likewise, the owner of this house left town for 3 weeks, only to return and find.
There were cars in the driveway and people inside.
When he confronted them, they said,
"No, we're living here. We have a lease."
The squatters didn't have a lease, but today, squatters often claim they do, go to a house and take it over. Bizarrely, laws favor the squatter.
In New York State, you cannot legally lock a squatter out of your home or turn off utilities. And once a squatter is there for 30 days, they are classified as a tenant.
Is there anything a homeowner can do about it? Well, Flash Shelton came up with a clever idea.
This man is on a mission to take back his parents' house after he says squatters moved in.
I just felt like, if they can take a house, I can take a house.
This was his mom's house. She left it briefly after his dad passed away. When squatters took over the house, Shelton did what I would have done.
I called law enforcement, and there was nothing they could do.
Why can't the cops evict somebody?
Because the crazy laws don't allow them to.
So Shelton came up with this bizarre solution.
I realized I could go in as the squatter myself, gain possession of the property.
Because the law so favors squatters, he became a squatter. When the home invaders left for a few hours, Shelton slipped into the house and changed the locks.
I had them locked out before they even knew that somebody wanted them out.
The squatter comes back, finds the door locked, screams, says, "I have a right to be there," and you just don't let him in?
I don't let him in.
After that work, Shelton started SquatterHunters.com, a business that tries to help others get their houses back. In Los Angeles, he confronted the man who took over this house.
He answered an ad to rent a room. And before he was accepted to rent the room, he walked in with a backpack and he refused to leave. I decide to go do a squatter intervention, and I show up with cameras and surprise him in the driveway.
So goes on. This guy is amazing. And he gets paid $5,000 to run squatters off. Now, you say that's a high price, but he'll tell you he puts his life and his reputation on the line. So he has a team. They come in. So if you've got squatters in your house, you might go online, find this guy. What they do is they come in. With the squatters eventually got to go buy groceries sometime. And when they leave, they go in, change the locks. And he's got some pretty big boys that work for him. And when the squatters come back, they find all their crap out on the driveway or in the yard, and a garage sale sign. And people they're immediately, they don't have money to pay rent, can go buy a U-Haul, and they're getting their stuff and they're getting out of Dodge. Now, the sad thing is, people are finding out around the country, if you go on vacation, if you leave town for a little while, people are not telling folks, I'm going to be out of town. They're afraid their house could be taken over. And you may think, well, this won't happen to me. But the more this is becoming above average. And if you go look at the statistics, it's very bad. And what is very sad is in the blue states, especially New York State, Michigan, Oregon, Wisconsin, have some of the worst laws. If you're going to be a landowner, or you're going to do rental properties, you might want to read up on the squatter's rights, because once a squatter gets in your rental property and doesn't pay you rent, it's costing you money. And when they damage your property and leave, guess what? They can't be held liable. When you finally get them out, if they've broken furniture or windows or mirrors, you're out that money. So it's sad, because renting was a very good way for a blue collar family to get up to the white collar. And it's like it's done intentionally. They don't want the average Joe to make money. That's what it sounds like to me. I'll be back.
This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. I want to introduce to you one of our new sponsors, University Motors of Chattanooga. Kevin Bloom is a great patriot, and University Motors of Chattanooga. My wife's car was bought there, and now my car. I trust him enough that I do business with them. 423-713-5800. NugaUsedCars.com. That's NugaUsedCars.com. And tell them the Patriot Pastor sent you.
Business owners, have you already filed for your employee retention credit with the IRS? As reported in a major financial paper, the IRS will be slowing down ERC checks. You could now be waiting several months to a year plus to get your ERC money. We can help you get it within 10 days. As long as you've already filed for your ERC with the IRS, we can advance you the money. Finance ERC has already funded millions of dollars in ERC money. You don't need to wait to get your money. We can get it to you within 10 days. Again, if you've already filed your employer retention credit, we can help you get the money in your bank account within 10 days from today. But you need to call right now while time is on your side. Here's our number. Not available in all states.
800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. 800-570-7651. That's 800-570-7651.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. That's 800-803-3771.
Welcome back to the show. This is Maisel Duncan, and we appreciate you guys sticking with us now. Marsha Blackburn, she's our Tennessee senator, and she's been on the show before, and we give pastor salute to Marsha Blackburn. She stands for many conservative values and issues, and her and I got to spend some time with her when she came down for the Right to Life memorial gathering. Several of us religious and conservatives were invited, and she was our keynote speaker. And Marsha is a good lady. Hope she takes Mitch McConnell's place. Anyone in D.C. listening, you want to turn the tide around, pick Marsha Blackburn or Tuberfield. One of them needs to be your new speaker or leader of the Senate, in my opinion. But on top of Joe Biden's banning religious symbols from Easter activities, She said the White House has now declared Easter Sunday as Trans Day of Visibility. The left is blatantly attempting to erode our nation's values and replace them with their radical woke agenda. And many folks are seeing that. And there seems to be a huge kickback from Easter just a few days ago, when not only did a leftist judge decide to release illegals that were caught at the border by the National Guard in Texas, Biden steps up and pretty much, for a man supposedly of faith, embraces a lifestyle that the Bible calls bad and sinful.
Easter, or as they like to call it in the Biden White House, a day of trans visibility. Yeah, a day of trans, right there on Easter, right? Let's just say people weren't happy. Let's just say all the events today on the White House lawn, the Easter egg hunt and all that, it had to be delayed because of thunder and lightning. I'm just going to leave it at that. So why now
this podcaster, and I did not know that, he's implying that God was angry, but that they had to delay all the festivities at the White House because of thunder and lightning that was unexpected. Possibilities there, but we'll just move on. But the Gateway Pundit has this story, and it says this: sorry, not sorry. Biden gives middle finger to the Christians after mocking Jesus on Easter. Elijah Schaefer's top 5 video. This guy goes on to talk about the White House response to Christians and backlashing, how, they are not happy. So instead of offering any kind of backstepping or apology, they doubled down and were kind of rather rude about it. And it's like they don't want Christian votes at all. I think we can oblige them with that. It's up to you, but let's pick up in this podcast, see what you think.
Our top story today from Cassandra McDonald explains they are not willing to give an apology for celebrating the literal antithesis of God's design for the world on Easter, arguably the most holy holiday in the Christian calendar. Let's see what the Gateway Pundit said. The White House has responded to the backlash from Christians over the Transgender Day of Visibility proclamation issued by Joe Biden. Biden declared March 31st to be a holiday honoring transgender people, but this March of the 31st, of course, is Easter. It's quoted saying, "Now therefore I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility," the White House proclamation declared. "I call upon all Americans to join us in lifting up the lives and voices of transgender people throughout our nation and to work towards eliminating violence and discrimination based on gender identity."
So that's what Biden stood for on Easter. And a lot of folks have been angry with it. The Daily Wire also reports that the Biden administration was screening a movie on Easter, by the way, pushing for more queer marine biologists as Trans Day of Visibility celebration at the White House. Was the marine science something that a queer woman could do? Ponders documentary promoted by the Biden administration. You can go read more about this in the Daily Wire, but I'll just give you some of the skinny here. The United States Department of Interior is set to celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility with a screening of a documentary about LGBT inclusion in marine biology, as internal email obtained by the Daily Mail reveals. The department tasked with the management and conservation federal land announced that it would host a screening, Diving for Rays, a queer conservationist story, in an Employee Digest email sent out March 26 that was obtained exclusively by the Daily Wire as a whistleblower wanted them to know. It's called Transgender Day of Visibility, is an internationally recognized event. Internationally? I thought this was America. So they're trying to make a global statement. Again, globalist versus nationalist. Transgender Day of Visibility is an internationally recognized event that is celebrated annually on March 31st, which is true. Did you know Obama started this in 2009? He picked March 31st to be the day of transgenderism. And Michelle was there and celebrated. This is her favorite holiday of the year. All righty now. So the department will mark this important occasion by showing a short documentary called Diving for Rays, a queer conservationist story. And it appears to be a documentary celebrating transgenderism, details the experience of Nicole Morris, a native of San Diego, California, who complains that the field of marine biology is saturated by straight white men. Unbelievable. So you can go check this out. It's on the Daily Wire. Biden administration screening movie pushing for more queer marine biologists. I kid you not. Well, if you want to really make a liberal's head explode, check this out. Donald Trump voted America's greatest president by the Irish Post. And if that doesn't blow their gasket, I have something else that will. House Republicans are proposing a resolution to rename Washington Dulles International Airport after Donald Trump. Now, this will be quite hilarious if this were to go through. A bill introduced by Representative Guy, I can't pronounce the dude's name, Russian something, Republican from Pennsylvania, seeks to rename Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia to Donald J. Trump International Airport. I just can't see it happening. I don't care if it does. I mean, I'm not worried about him getting accolades. But on March 29th, this guy introduced H.R. 7845, which aims to designate the Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia as the Donald J. Trump International Airport. The bill currently has 6 co-sponsors, which include, this is what I thought was interesting, Troy Nels from Texas, Charles Flashman from Tennessee, way to go, Chuck Flashman, Paul Gazar, Barry Moore from Alabama, and Paul Gazar from Arizona, Andrew Ogles from Tennessee, and Michael Watts from Florida. Now, you got 2 Tennesseans, Andrew Ogles and my pal, Chuck Flashman. So, hey, man, I'd love to see it happen. I hope it does. But I just thought that was interesting that is on the docket. Now, that tells you something. For the Republicans early on to give Trump the Heisman, now they're coalescing around him going into the election. They're even wanting to name an airport after him. So you're starting to see the GOP surrounding Trump, but you're seeing the opposite with the Democrats. They're kind of leaving Biden. Biden is kind of falling away, if you will, and it doesn't look good for him. So I just thought that was interesting that you see more and more folks getting on, if you want to call it the Trump train, and you see more and more folks being a little bit turned off by the Biden administration. And then this Easter fiasco, they said it cost Biden possibly up to 5 points in the national polling for president. Why in the world would he make this move? It doesn't make sense. But Biden, I don't think he's ever been accused of making sense. If you're with me on that, here's a little ditty about Mr. Biden, and we'll see what you think. It's the epic U.S. News funnies of the day. (1987).
Most of us, all of us are a product of our background and our culture. Matter of fact, you and I had a discussion. I asked for your help. I did not grow up in an area or community where there were large Hispanic or even small Hispanic population. I mean, it was just non-existent.
All righty then. 2022.
I come from the little state of Delaware. It's not like the congresswoman from New York. She's from the big state. But we have a very, in relative terms, large Puerto Rican population in Delaware relative to our population. We have the 8th largest Black population in the country, and between all minorities, we have 20% of our state is minority. And so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home.
Oh my God!
Now, did you catch what he said? This was in 1987. 1987. Now, Joe Biden in the Senate said this.
Most of us, all of us are a product of our background and our culture. Matter of fact, you and I had a discussion. I asked for your help. I did not grow up in an area or community where there were large Hispanic or even small Hispanic.
I did not grow up in an area that was large or small Hispanic. Then in 2022, he claims to have grown up in a Hispanic majority small town. They have finally figured out to tell when Joe Biden's lying. They say when his lips are moving. This guy is incredible. And I don't know why. I'm not surprised, but when I saw that today, I thought, geez, is the guy ever going to tell the truth? I doubt it. Well, the Florida Supreme Court allows 6-week abortion ban to affect open doors from ballot referendum. Now, the Florida Supreme Court on Monday found that the Sunshine State's Constitution privacy protections do not extend to abortion, which is the intentional killing of live humans in the woman's womb. The ruling triggers a pro-life law called the Heartbeat Protection Act to go into effect May 1st. The Florida law bans abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy, with exceptions for the life of the mother, rape, incest, or rare fatal fetal abnormalities. John McCormick, senator editor of the Dispatch, broke down the ruling on X. He says Florida Supreme Court upholds state's 15-week abortion limit that has been in effect since summer of 2022. The ruling will trigger enforcement of the state's Heartbeat Protection Act, which is basically 6 weeks when the heartbeat's detected, in 30 days, he wrote. Writing in a majority opinion, Justice Grossman touched a constitutionality of the 15-week abortion law limit and challenged by the abortion mill Planned Parenthood, writing, here's the justice. Based on our analysis, finding no clear right to abortion embodied within the privacy clause, Planned Parenthood cannot overcome the presumption of constitutionality and is unable to demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt that the 15-week ban is unconstitutional. Now, that's a justice I like. So, interesting enough. We'll see what happens with more to come, I guess. But as you and I start looking at what's in the news and what's happening, don't forget, as believers, we've got to be salt and light whichever way it goes. If it goes good or if it goes bad, you can't always get what you want, but you can stand in and have truth, values, no matter what's happening. Now, here's one that just came up on the Epic Times. See what you think.
No.
A new round of Fox News polling shows former President Trump widening his lead over President Biden. One big reason? The economy. 52% of voters say they're worse off financially today than they were in 2020, just before Biden took office.
So I don't know if you heard that. This is Fox News' new poll saying
Fox News polling shows former President Trump widening his lead over President Biden. One big reason? The economy. 52% of voters say they're worse off financially today than they were in 2020, just before Biden took office.
I don't know. How many of you feel that you were better off under Biden or under Trump than Biden? I think it's a lot of people. I don't see the few Democrats that are trying to stay loyal to Mr. Biden. You got to give them a little credit because they're trying hard not to abandon their boy, but he makes them look so bad so often. And he just really is a gift that keeps on giving to conservatives. We look at him and go, I don't know. But Newsweek says that Donald Trump suffers a major loss in Gen Z support. Evidently, that's the area Kennedy is picking up in. But this is Newsweek, and it's saying that Donald Trump suffers a major loss with the Gen Z support. Trump saw his lowest support among voters aged 18 to 24. Now, this is Harvard, so it's hard to trust Harvard, but it's a Harvard poll mixed in with Harris, okay? And pollsters began surveying the age group this past December, and the most recent poll conducted between March 20 and 20th through the 21st, only 35% of Gen Z voters said they would vote for the former president in a Trump-Biden rematch. Okay, so we'll see. And they're saying 43%, blah, 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 blah. But they also say many said they would abstain for voting. So it really isn't a plus for Biden. It just says not all of them, some of them are just going to stay home. And that, I think, is going to be a big potential that could be a favor for Donald Trump. I think voter turnout is going to be hard for the Democrats. It's going to be hard to get them rallied and jacked up for this guy because he's just not producing anything that's worth fighting for. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. We got, I'm trying to see if there's any update. Nope, nothing on the migrant. Now, the trucker pushback on Biden's new climate rule. Let's see if we can get this one for you.
If you conceal carry, would you?
Now, hang on. I don't want to promote that commercial because it's not one of ours.
This is rolling out the strictest climate standards ever on heavy-duty vehicles, buses and trucks. Grady Trimble at the White House. All right, Grady, truckers are pushing back, I understand. What are they saying?
They are, Stu. They're not happy with it at all, saying it's going to be really, really expensive and probably unrealistic to transition to electric trucks. You know, this rule is pretty similar to the EPA's rule on tailpipe emissions for passenger vehicles. It just applies to big semi-trucks. Might come as no surprise to you that the environmental groups like it. The Sierra Club says it's crucial that truck manufacturers get into the fast lane with zero-emission trucks to deliver the climate, health, and economic benefits we deserve. As we mentioned, it'll apply to semi-trucks, but also city buses, box trucks, and garbage trucks, starting with model year 2027 and getting progressively more strict through 2032. Practically what it means is a lot more electric trucks and buses on the roads by then. The groups representing the trucking industry and the bus industry say the new rules are unaffordable, and they say that means higher prices for you and me.
So truckers are making a stand. Now, don't forget, back when they made their big stand in Canada, a lot of folks were miscounting the ability they had to unite and make a statement. Well, they're making a statement also in New York, and this is Kilmeade talking about what's happening in New York with the trucker boycott up there.
I have now learned tonight from a source that Kathy Hochul, the governor, AG Letitia James, both were rejected.
Well, the table's getting turned tonight. Donald Trump is now suing.
Both of them were told to please leave the funeral in New York, and that's the interesting thing. Okay, this was supposed to be an update on the trucker thing, and it's turned into a Trump thing. They misrepresented what they were doing there. Sorry about that. But try to scoot down to see. Nope. They turned that into a Trump thing, which is fine. But I was trying to get update on the trucker boycott up there because there's a lot of folks saying that they're not promoting in the mainstream media what's actually happening with the trucker boycott. Let's see. Here's another one. See what happens.
How to kill all.
And hang on just a sec. Let me get through this minutia here. Bop, bop, bop. There we go.
And the city that never sleeps is eerily quiet. You see, New York City is bracing for a significant event. The usual hustle and bustle replaced by a tense calm, a hush enveloping the towering skyscrapers and winding streets. Law enforcement is on high alert, with possible protests looming at the iconic Trump Tower
and the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The reason? A scheduled hearing for former President Trump? Yes, anticipation hangs in the air, thick and palpable as officers prepare for all possibilities. The city, renowned for resilience and unyielding spirit, holds its breath. The looming question is not just about the hearing's outcome, but the city's response. From the street vendors to the Wall Street tycoons, from the taxi drivers to the Broadway actors, everyone is waiting, watching. That could be drastically altered overnight. These aren't just numbers on a page, they're real assets, real properties, and real consequences. This could be turned. What if fortune favors the brave? Now let's consider the appeal to justice. The appeals court is currently considering a ruling that could potentially...
Okay, this is old news. Again, this one was misrepresented. Sorry about that, guys. Happens every now and then. This is basically showing a lot of people, and they're outside on the streets supporting Donald Trump in New York, knowing that with the facial recognition cameras and all that they have in the New York City. We live in Chattanooga, which has been dubbed a smart city. They're putting cameras all over the city. And, you know, you can hardly go anywhere without them knowing where you're at. They track your pings and facial recognition. But for this many people to show up in New York City and come out and protest, not to mention it's got pictures of the truck. If you noticed, the media is not covering the boycott of the truckers and the damage it's doing to the economy there in New York. You got to ask yourself why. Why are they not covering certain stories? Don't know. We want to be factual and we want to present the facts. And I was trying to find the one I had an interview that I'd listened to some vendors saying that their goods are drying up because of the boycott. Items aren't coming in, and it's driving prices up, and it's causing a lot of anger. Therefore, it's forcing the governor to try to make plans possibly to bring in more federal funding and federal food, if you will, to take care of this. Now, the reason I bring all that up is Tennessee just got in trouble with not supposedly filling out their paperwork for USDA food. I went downtown to a meeting at the Chattanooga Food Bank, and we were getting told the reason that the USDA is being held back, and we had ours suspended for a week. Supposedly some violations. We didn't have some label on a corner. So anyways, it was really shallow information. But we rectified anything they wanted. We said we would comply. But she went on to say they had to do 10 inspections. Now, we're one of the largest food distributors in the Chattanooga area. We were number 3 last year out of 250 food distributors. Appleton Food Pantry was number 3. So we give out a lot of food. But here's the deal. What they're wanting to do is take USDA food for U.S. citizens and reappropriate it for the illegals. And so Tennessee supposedly didn't fill out their paperwork. And so they're going to be cutting back USDA rations throughout the state of Tennessee. At least that's the threat. So they're trying to find little nitpicky things that maybe a group's doing. And then justify maybe cutting off what they would give us so they could give to an illegal food distribution. Savvy? Food that was meant for American citizens that have lost their jobs, had their hours cut, or find themselves in financial concern. Okay? That's disturbing to me that American citizens, and we help a lot of non-citizens. We give food away to a lot of folks, and a lot of folks come up to us that had just gotten here to America. We just had some Haitians in worship Sunday at our church in worship service. So believe me, I'm not against helping people. What I don't like is when they take food that was designated for poor American citizens, because we have a lot of senior adults and single mothers. We got folks that struggle because they take care of folks with illnesses or handicapped folks, and it puts a drain on you financially. You know, we got some senior adult widows, money or food or medicine. So they use because the medicine's gone up under Biden, they come to us for food so they can afford their medicine. And a lot of that food is USDA. If we take that USDA and therefore give it to non-citizens, I don't like that personally. Now, if you want to take some of this Pentagon money and all this magic money you have and go buy food and give to I don't have a problem with that. Feed hungry people. But don't take out of the mouths of your American citizens to give to non-American citizens. That's just a little pet peeve that I have. And I hope it gets rectified soon, but we'll find out. We have, let's see. We've already played that one. If you think about it, there is a lot of stuff. The secret migrant flights, we talked about that. I want to go back there. That's Johnson. All right. We'll come back to this after the break. If you haven't heard, I'm going to just replay. Kennedy's is climbing in the polls, and he's making a big splash with the younger generation. And he right now won a vote. According to Fox News, he's at 47% favorability. Donald Trump was at 46 and Biden was at 39. I don't see it. Someone's calculator's not working. How do you have 47, 46, and 39? I don't see how that all adds up to 100. But anyway, you tell me. This is Tim Hawkins talking about he had to take care of his kids while his wife was gone, and he found the secret to motherhood and controlling the kids.
This may be the dumbest song I've ever written. It's pretty new, and
I have to hold it till we come back.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. 800-932-3721. That's 800-932-3721.
This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. I want to introduce to you one of our new sponsors, University Motors of Chattanooga. Kevin Bloom is a great patriot, and University Motors of Chattanooga. My wife's car was bought there, and now my car. I trust him enough that I do business with him. 423-713-5800. NugaUsedCars.com. That's NugaUsedCars.com. And tell them the Patriot Pastor sent you.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. 800-803-3771. That's 800-803-3771.
This is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan. And if you're looking for small projects like porches, patios, walkways, or even large projects like foundation work, Patriot Concrete is there for you. Cameron Lee, 423-215-6365. We've used Cameron for many projects at Appleton Baptist Church, and he and his team are awesome. That's 423-215-6365. These are all veterans that served our country. Let them serve you. Patriot Concrete is there for you.
Well, this is the Patriot Pastor Maisel Duncan, and welcome back to the show. Blaze Media just dropped a news story U.S. soccer player apologizes for sharing Christian content after Megan Rapapahoni, the multicolored hair lip lock liberal lesbian, says it's hateful and causing child suicide. United States women's soccer team player has apologized. Don't ever apologize for your faith. This is sad. After sharing a likening online content deemed to be offensive. Corbin Albaret, a 20-year-old from Illinois, faced criticism online for sharing a video from a Christian service that showed a person with an intellectual disability giving a speech about stopping their gender transition. The video was characterized in multiple outlets as being content that simply says feeling transgendered is wrong. The young soccer player also criticized for what appeared to be a deleted post from 2023 in which her family reportedly took turns stating their pronouns are USA, according to The Athletic. That's sad. So this Megan Rapapahoni, who was dropped by Subway, you're letting someone that was only dropped by Subway. She was beaten out by the swimmer for